In this video we're gonna make a new game with no skills whatsoever. I forgot to mention that obviously I'm massively talented, but I'll put those skills aside and do this with the perspective of not having any skills. Let's get back to the video. But you might say,
well Dennis, haven't you already too many projects going on?
And to that I say, shut up. It will be a top-down shooter inspired by Enter the Gungeon and Hotline Miami, because those games are just nice. I also have a secret that I will reveal later in this video. So I started out with this famous bean, then I downloaded a character that was free, that had a bunch of animations, and I started creating the enemy AI. I used Playmaker to do that, which is a visual programming script. It costs a bit of money, but if you have Unity, it comes with Bolt, which is their native visual programming language that you can use as well. I bought this asset, which is a office pack asset that contains a lot of props that you would have in an office, and those are the graphics, so I could just plop those right in. Then I added post-processing, guns, and blood effects. And whoopsie, we got a game on our hands. I also looked at some assets for a top-down engine. There's actually an asset called top-down engine. The reason why I didn't go with that is because the 3D example that they had wasn't feeling great. The game feel was a bit I did look at the 2D examples as well, and those were great. So maybe if I was going to make a 2D game, that would have been a benefit. I'll link to it below anyways. Second week, more post-processing power. We also got a Uzi, and we added a death effect. Third week, we added menus, a title, and a way to pause the game and reset it. That took way longer than I was expecting. We also added muzzle flash. Those are important. The fourth week, well, something has to go wrong in a good story. And this is when I messed everything up. I tried to bring in a custom shader, and because I was using the built-in render pipeline, first I should explain what a render pipeline is. So Unity has different render pipelines, and those are used to define the graphics of the game. So if you have the high definition render pipeline, it's more heavy, but the shadows, the lights looks better. You can use the universal render pipeline, and that has a bit more optimized graphics, which means you can have less lights and less quality in the shadows, but it can still look great. The benefit from that is you can release it on all platforms, which is awesome. I was using the built-in render pipeline, which is when you don't really choose, you don't really know what to go with, so you just go with nothing. The problem with that is you can't use custom shaders. So I tried to use the universal render pipeline, and that worked, but then the game looked horrible. Then I changed it to the high definition render pipeline, and then nothing was working. So I spent like a lot of time trying to fix that. I finally got fixed, and now it looks a little bit different. I still think it looks great. However, that meant I had to add the post-processing again, and I had to do other stuff as well. I'm using a post-processing stack, which is based on old films, that gives it kind of like an old film look. It has glitches and cool noises that are used in that sense. It's also an asset that I bought on the asset store, you can see it right here. Then I added more rooms that I also added earlier for the game. I'm using a random generation for the map, which is, so the map will be different every time I play it. It will be a new map. That's why I use modules. So I have a module for each room, and then I'll stitch those together at a random pace. That's also an asset that I bought. Then the game was kind of done. I wanted to add punching from the enemies as well, because that would give a good dynamic to the game in general. So I added that, and that's what you see, and that's the final game. It took 4 weeks. It's amazing. It's good. You can play it at some point if you want. This was an experiment to show you, but that you can make a game. However, hidden in this project was also a lesson for me. It shouldn't surprise anyone that you can make it yourself, that anybody can make this. But I did spend around 40 hours, and it's not easy. It does require dedication. However, I feel like 40 hours is doable for anybody. During this project, I learned that I should also focus on the gameplay and game feel first before I go too much into graphics, world creation and story. Those things will only distract me. Gameplay comes first. This is probably also the only skill you need. Focusing on having a fun game that feels good is the best approach. And you can buy some assets, but to be a true game developer, you probably need to learn this. A good way to start is to analyze how other similar games are doing it. Do you remember the secret I talked about? So during this process, I really enjoyed making this game. And my plan is to make a small game, release it on Steam and see what's happened. And I'm gonna make this game the small game. but I'm gonna slap my own graphics on it and then release it. Which means I'm gonna use the skills that I have, and I'm gonna try to benefit from what I learned and from what I can do, just because I want it to be good. I want to release a good game. The type of game that this is a game that I can work on for like a month, 2 months, and then release it, which is amazing. I don't have to work 5 years on it. I just want to make it a small project, release it, and get it out there. I have the Galactic Hawks game that I've been working on as well. If you are a bit confused, actually that was last year that I worked on it. And this year I've been mostly focusing on finishing Night Out. The reason why I'm not working on Galactic Hawks right now is because it's a much bigger project. It will probably take a year to finish that project, and I want to finish that project, but right now I need to get a small project out for several reasons. One reason is I need to prove my worth. I need to prove that I can make a good game. Another reason is that I don't have an audience. Nobody knows who I am. That's why I make YouTube videos. That's also why I want to release a game that's free or at a very low price. That's the idea, and I can't spend a year on a game. I need to make it fast, and I need to get it out there fast. So that's basically the gist of it. With that said, I really hope that you will follow the journey. The next new video that I produce is going to be about this game. I will release some of the devlogs that I made last year for Night Out, because I think those are really exciting and has a lot of interesting stuff in them. And I will release those up to the release of the game itself. So that's gonna be
beautiful.
If you wanna play the game when it's out, obviously subscribe. Night Out, the game I talked about, I made a video about how it was to finish that game. That took 5 years. I think you should watch that one next. It's really interesting and I think you will enjoy it. That's it for me. I'll see you later, gamers.